What is the power of debt? Debt is a double-edged sword. There are ways to take advantage of it, but there's also ways that it can hurt us a lot. Would you be able to think of how much you owe right now on credit cards off the top of your head? Now, I found data that shows more of us are starting to owe more money than we can even pay every single month. And to think that those on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, they're worried about their program solvency, the increase that they've received for this year is not enough to cover everything. But if we were talking about the budget for our Space Force, that's right, we actually have a Space Force. It's expected that billions of dollars will be invested for them to protect space. Is this why UFOs continue to just show up on our radars now? So that they can ask for a bigger budget to manage and guard our space? It's like we now have a budget for everything else except for helping Americans, huh? Now we got a lot to talk about, ranging from 401ks continuing to go down in value, power outages, canceling flight plans, more people investing in stocks that are mainly based on bets, and signals of a recession continue to make waves throughout our economy. I know, guys, it's a lot, but before I continue, guys, please take a second and smash the like button and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth when it comes to what's happening in Washington, D.C., the state of our economy, Social Security, global happenings, the housing market, the stock market, and everything that affects our lives, our families, and our bank accounts. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below of this video. How does a 401k work? You're all probably aware of how it's supposed to help you down the road, but for anyone who may not be informed about it, it's a retirement savings plan. It has many different tax advantages, and it takes a percentage of our paycheck to be put into an investment retirement account. Sounds like a pretty good plan, right? Well, it used to be, but as the stock market has taken a beating in the last year, balances have dropped by at least 20% in many cases. The median balance is now at a shocking $27,376. Hardship withdrawals are also going up, although I am guessing that number will probably grow as 2023 goes by. Why? Well, consumers are struggling to pay their bills. And look at this data that shows how more of us are struggling. Says here, quote, 68% are worried that they wouldn't have enough to be able to cover their living expenses just for 1 month if they lost their primary source of income. And when push comes to shove, the majority, 57% of US adults are currently unable to afford a $1,000 emergency expense. When broken down by generation, Gen Zers, 85%, and millennials, 79%, are more likely to be worried about covering an emergency expense. No wonder everyone's so freaking stressed out these days, right? But let me ask you something. How much are you able to afford if an emergency were to suddenly pop up? Now, to be honest, it's probably the last thing that I really want to happen to any of us, but we gotta realize the reality of life. Can you spare an extra $1,000, $500, $100? And since more of us are running out of money that we can spare to lose at any given point in time, recession signals are stemming out of the use of credit cards. They're now being used for more than luxury. It is now a tool to buy necessities. Now, I read this one comment where they brought home one bag of groceries with like 4 items worth $75. I mean, that's the truth that we're in right now. But the optimism with our government to tell us that things are becoming better, it's unfounded. How are they going to say that wages are keeping up when we can't afford to go to Walmart and Target and pick up the same normal stuff we used to? Or if we can, we're cutting back on a lot of things that we used to be able to buy with the same money. There's a lot of comments that say, we had it made 3 years ago. But what's happened to our expenses these days? Now, to top it all off, the total balances for our credit cards, they're now at $930 billion, with each person having an average of $7,000 in credit card debt. Now, imagine owing $7,000 on your credit card and with interest rates at 19% nowadays? But that didn't stop some Americans from spending during Valentine's Day. Data shows that in order to go out and buy gifts for their partners, 52% of Americans cut back spending on other areas. 50% borrowed money from their friends or their parents. 46% used the dreaded buy now, pay later service. And only 15% had the right idea to get a new job and get better pay. But you know what's romantic? Dealing with debt. You can't solve it by building debt. You have to chip away at it. And improving your cash flow, it's a great way to start. But whatever you do, be wise with your investments. There are others who continue to gamble their money away. And I guess that's why DraftKings, the sports operator, has seen their stock soar. It's also helped that sports gambling is now operational in 21 states. How about you guys? Are you willing to gamble with your savings? You know what else feels like gambling these days? Booking a flight. Doesn't it feel like our entire transportation system is breaking apart? It was worse for those at Kennedy Airport as a power outage in a terminal terminal there forced flights to be canceled or diverted. Now, this isn't an outage that lasted a few minutes or a couple of hours. This one is counting the days. One of the worst diverted flights was one that came from New Zealand that had to be sent back.
A power outage at a terminal in one of the world's busiest airports is stretching now into its second day, and it's centered at the terminal that hosts many international flights. The result, big headache for travelers around the globe as flights are canceled or diverted to other airports. Eyewitness News reporter Janice Yu with more from Kennedy.
It's still just a waiting game at this point as crews still work to restore power to Terminal 1. In the meantime, some of the flights that were supposed to arrive and depart at Terminal 1 are actually doing so from Terminal 4 for the time being. Delays and cancellations continue as Terminal 1 at JFK Airport remains closed following a small fire on Thursday. The scene Thursday as travelers arrived at the airport only to find everything from check-in machines to the arrival and departure board out. About 20 international airlines use this terminal, and flights Thursday were delayed, diverted, canceled, and even turned around mid-air, like an Air New Zealand flight that turned around and returned to Auckland 8 hours into their 16-hour flight, and a flight from South Korea turning around after almost making it to the U.S.
Now, this is insane to think about, and this all stemmed from an electrical panel failure that led to a small fire. Our infrastructure is so fragile, but are we investing in our infrastructure? We keep hearing more and more of these stories showing the fragility of our electrical systems. And yet this current administration is like, hey, kill everything that's gas. Let's just plow forward with all electric. Well, if it has anything to do with our Space Force, then yes. It's now coming out that the possible 2024 budget for the Defense Department may provide billions of dollars more for the Space Force budget. And you have to wonder, we have a Space Force? Yes, and the budget continues to grow as time goes by. Something that may just balloon over time as we continue to shoot, well, balloons out of the sky. Mike Tierney, Legislative Affairs Head of the National Security Space Association, he said this, quote, "This is a place where Congress can consistently, and frankly, the department has consistently increased investment year over year. To be clear, this is really a leading indicator that allows us to kind of see that public trend in the Space Force budget request. And as you can see, it's growing annually, and Congress is continuing to plus up the classified amount. That doesn't seem to be drying up anytime soon," end quote. Is this more of a money grab? Now, I'm sorry, that's mostly an opinion, but it's not like we have fighter ships like the X-Wing up in the skies, or in this case, in outer space. But since we continue to see more balloons and UFOs, it's highly probable that this division will continue to receive billions and billions of dollars in funding, like Tierney said. Their budget's not going to dry up anytime soon. Now, something that could possibly happen to Social Security and other government subsidies that taxpayers paid into to receive benefits from. Am I the only one that thinks that this is unfair for us Americans? But what do you guys think? Social Security could run out, but the space program will never run out of money. Sound off in the comments down below. It really makes you feel as if you're alone in this battle, huh? But you know what? You don't have to think that way, especially when it comes to solving our financial problems. Truth is, I leave a link to the Patreon group in the description of our videos, and that's because you guys are free to join. I know that you want change, and that can be started by budgeting. It could be drawn from multiple streams of income through side hustles or small businesses. It could also come from investments in the stock market or real estate. Now, whatever the case may be, you have to take the first step to admit that change is possible and that financial freedom can be achieved. But I look forward to hearing from you guys. Before I go though, please drop a thumbs up for the video. Also subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you on the next one.